Welcome back to Fantasy Baseball Cafe's Hot and Cold Report. I'm Jason Gilbo. Today we'll be looking at some heating bats and some heating arms as well to keep on your guys' radar, and also hit a few guys who are going through a real cold stretch. There's actually a couple guys on the waiver wire list that are out there that you guys should take a look at if you need some help, which I'll get to later. Hot and Cold Report. Nobody higher than Chris Archer and Chris Sale right now, who are just dialing up double-digit strikeouts whenever they can. And then Albert Pujols is going through a heater right now. He's got about 6 or 7 home runs in like the last week and a half. And then Stanton reclaims his home run lead here this week. He had 2 last night at the Rogers Center, and he will take on some friendly pitching of Colorado when he's at home this week. Just a quick look at some teams as a whole lately. The Rockies bats really woke up. Mainly guys like Nolan Arenado, Carlos Gonzalez even got going, which I'll talk about later on. And then Tulo. Everyone was worried about Tulo, and they're back cranking at home right now. Corey Dickerson should be back. As long as we're talking about those guys, he plans to play on the road trip. He continued his rehab, had no problem, so he's back in Denver. Went back to Denver this past Monday and will be playing in the road trip. So just a couple of teams here that really stepping up in June is the Atlanta Braves, Texas Rangers, and the Anaheim Angels. Los Angeles Angels. And those are some teams that haven't been doing too much in the early parts, and then especially the Braves and Rangers who are really surprising. Prince Fielder went on that tear, and then Freddie Freeman's been getting it done for Atlanta. As we knew he would, but I didn't think he'd be putting up the numbers that he is right now at this point. So definitely those guys being led by their first baseman. At the opposite end of the spectrum, a few Midwest teams who are really struggling right now is the Royals, the Cardinals, and the Twins. All in the bottom 5 so far in the last 2 weeks. And the Cardinals took another injury blow when Holiday, he has a grade 2 quad tear, and this is just coming shortly after Matt Adams left, and he's got a grade 3 tear, and he'll be out for a while. So we don't know the extent of Matt Holiday's injury right now, of how bad it is and what the timetable is going to be, but I'm going to take a guess, and he'll be out for quite some time. Talking about some waiver wire ads, those Atlanta Braves have been really led by Cameron Maybin, hitting out of the leadoff spot, hitting 483 this month. His average on the season is 296. He's already at double-digit stolen bases. He's got 5 homers. His ownership numbers are starting to rise, and deservingly so. The guy's been kind of an all-around bat out of the leadoff spot. We know what he can do. He showed it that 1 month where he hit 40 stolen bases, so the guy has fantasy value, and he's really putting it together this season. Maikel Franco for the Phillies has been really overshadowed as one of the top prospects coming into the league this season. Just like, Chris Bryant, Joey Gallo, Carlos Correa have all been kind of overshadowed him. And plus, just being on the Phillies, the worst offense in baseball in general, is obviously not going to get you a lot of attention. He's hitting 469 this month with 4 homers, and his strikeout rate's really low for a guy who's, doesn't have much major league experience. He's going to continue to hit 4th and 5th in the lineup. And just, Ben Revere and if Chase Utley ever gets going, they'll get guys on in front of him to provide a ton of RBI chances. He doesn't walk a ton, which, he's an aggressive guy, but he's making contact right now. If you need some home runs and some power, RBI, I'm looking at Franco here. Another guy who stayed hot, Lance McCullers, and I talked to him about the pitching preview earlier this week. He put in another 7 innings with a rain day in between, which is kind of impressive because, that sometimes can break up momentum, which he did struggle a little bit after the rain delay because he allowed 3 earned runs, but he still struck out 7. If you need strikeouts, I'm looking at Lance McCullers right now. He's got 29% strikeout rate through 5 starts right now. Definitely a guy I want to add, just with Brad Peacock and Brett Oberholzer, being in and out of the rotation on the DL. These guys have stepped up, and that's the reason why Houston's got the best record in baseball right now. Just some other honorable mentions here. Austin Jackson's playing really well since coming off the DL. If you need some help there, stolen bases. Leonis Martin as well is swinging over 300 in the last 2 weeks or so. So if you just need some speed, looking to get guys some runs. If you need some help in the outfield, take a look at those two guys. Oh, a guy on the rebound, Mike Fiers. He's almost kind of like an under-owned Tyson Ross right now because they both have crazy high strikeout rates. And their BABIP is just through the roof right now. And that's obviously going to come down, which is going to help them pitch better. I like Fiers. He's brought down his ERA. He was horrible in April. Brought it down to just under 3.80 ERA, which is not good, but it's not terrible in May. And then through 2 starts, he's got a 1.74 ERA in June. So he's a guy who's I really want to look at, and, he's going to bring the strikeouts. He's got the strikeout rate, and just a guy. He's got a decent FIP. So definitely a guy I want to take a look if he's out there, which he should be in a lot of leagues, and possibly pick him up. He struggled a bit at home, so keep an eye on that. And for a hitter, Carlos Gonzalez, he's been a big part of that Coors offense turnaround this last couple of weeks, hitting .419 with 2 homers in the month of June. We know what he can do. If you hung on to him, it's a good sign for you guys because, he's obviously hitting the ball well and, hopefully can stay healthy throughout the rest of the season. If you shipped him off, I can't really blame you. He was awful in the beginning of the season, but he's really turned it around. And a guy who's been kind of more of a season-to-season rebound, Pedroia played through that wrist injury last season, which really hindered his power, I believe. And then ever since he moved to the leadoff spot this season, he's hitting .377, and he's got 8 homers already. He's on pace for 22 on the date. And that'll be a tough mark, but I could see him making a push for 20. He's a guy I'm really going to try and work into maybe a larger deal if you're looking for some offense. Maybe not a 1-for-1 trade, but, if you're looking to grab a second baseman, I'm trying to tackle Pedroia here and get him into a deal. Because him and Xander Bogaerts have been really consistent bats for Boston this season. They hit both lefties and righties really well. That middle infield spot, you can add some power with Pedroia. So definitely try and maybe work him into a deal and explore some options with him. And then we get to the cold guys here. Lucas Duda, hitting .083 this month. He's a guy who's been kind of streaky in the past. I'm probably just looking to have him ride the pine until he gets hot again. Maybe go pick up Adam Lind for the meantime. Sit Duda until he gets going again. He's a guy, he was on fire. He was leading the league in doubles at one point, home runs. He was hitting lefties well, but it's kind of taken a back seat here within the last few weeks. So definitely, keep him on the bench. He's not a guy you want to deal. I still believe in Lucas Duda here for the rest of the season. Stephen Vogt, talk about a guy who's went from a complete hot start to just ice cold lately. He was a guy who I had as a sell high earlier in the season. I think a lot of people did, and they did it. So it was kind of a good move on their part. 34% strikeout rate this month. It's not good. Any guy who's kind of hitting in Oakland anyway is not a good guy for fantasy offense. If you have him, you're probably going to hang on to him. Obviously, there's not a lot of catchers out there, but I'm guessing he'll turn around, but not get to the point where he was hitting earlier this season. If you're looking for a buy low target, Gio Gonzalez, he's got an ERA over 5 in the last 30 days, and so some owners may be ready to ship him off or just have completely dropped him altogether because it seems like this year people are pretty impatient. He has a healthy ground ball rate and a nice strikeout rate that's on par with his career averages, so it's not an issue there. He's got .372 BABIP. That's obviously going to come down, and he's got a FIP of 3.04, which is pretty good. So he's definitely a buy low candidate. Take a look at him, see what you can work out through a deal. Guys may be trying to just sell him off for whatever they can get. If you guys Mark Trumbo moved from Arizona to Seattle, and that's a pretty big hit. He goes to Safeco out of Arizona, and that's, obviously park factor wise, it's not a move you like. And for a guy who's Trumbo, he's really just busting in homers and RBIs. It's really always really good for. So he's hitting behind Nelson Cruz. So if Nelson Cruz doesn't hit the get the RBIs. Trumbo will have a shot, but it's just the lineup spot is. I don't like it. He's hitting 5th and 6th in Seattle so far. He's DHing, which works out for them, but just in Seattle with the offense that they've been so far, I don't like his value going forward. So that value hit will wrap things up here. Fantasy Baseball Cafe's Hot and Cold Report. Be sure to check out tomorrow's forum trade talk. As always, post your trades in the forum, and I'll break down a couple and help you guys gauge their worth. And we'll hit in next week, see what guys have picked up and who's ice cold now. So that's going to wrap it up. Check out next week's content. We'll have all new stuff.